Well, hello and welcome to all of our viewers around the world. I'm Fiona Lang-Sharp, IBCLC Director of Communications and MC here at Gold Learning, where we're talking about our Gold Lactation Conference, and we have arrived. We're in the middle of our conference right now. I'm so excited. But let me tell you, you're not too late. You haven't missed too much. There is still so much time, and it's not even a case of catching up. You'll be able to dive in. So we've got a few presentations that are ready to go for you right now, which means that you can log in right now and watch those presentations. Some of our live folks who came to the live presentations, they were so excited that they asked even today, can we go back and listen? Absolutely. So there's lots of opportunity. And I get to introduce to you my very good friend and colleague here, Kelly Durbin. Well, Kelly, welcome back to Gold. It's so good to have you here today.
Thanks so much for having me today. This is great.
Yeah, absolutely. And it is a great day, not only for Gold, but for Kelly too, because Kelly's going to be here as part of our Gold Lactation as one of our keynote presentations. And those of you who have been to a keynote presentation before will know that they are free and open access. So listen up. This is how you do it. You head over to goldlactation.com right now and you register for Kelly Durbin's session. Anybody can come from anywhere in the world, and you will in for an incredible presentation titled The Night Shift Effect, Navigating Breastfeeding After Nighttime Birth. Now, before we dive into the topic, Kelly, let's catch up. What's going on? What's happening with you?
Oh, not too much. I'm preparing to move from the American Southwest in Arizona to Oregon. I'm looking forward to better weather this year.
Well, that's fantastic. Well, it's great to have you back here at Gold. And I know that you've actually been working with us for a bit here, and you've got a few products online. Some people might even recognize that you're a part of our add-on package as well. And I know that you're going to be here for one of our panels, which is really exciting. But let's talk about this topic. So I said to you today offline, I said, let's really find out the why behind this topic. So again, the night shift effect, navigating breastfeeding after nighttime birth. What does this really mean? Like, what is happening? Why this topic?
That's a really, really good question. So one of the things that got me interested in lactation, just from crossing the line from being a person who had kids and breastfed them to being somebody interested in research, in topics that are interesting to people or that help understand or shed light on what's the big why behind why so many folks struggle. So a few years ago, I started creating a list of all the things that I could think of, and I legitimately went down every rabbit hole. I was just, the list became really overdone. And finally I was like, okay, this is ridiculous. Maybe I have to stop adding to it. But
Right.
um, so many of these factors really work their way into our lives without people even knowing that they're at play. So
Right.
this is a big one.
Yeah.
So many folks give birth at night, and people don't realize going into their birth experience that the time factor, meaning what hour of the day or night that you give birth, can change the support environment at the hospital. And that's what this talk is about. So my work in everything that I have been doing, aside from, working one-on-one with people when I work on their problems or issues, but the things that I am interested in outside of that is about why we struggle so much with this. And recently I became interested in, just after talking to a few folks who told me, man, I really struggled after giving birth at night. And it was just coincidence, I think, that I thought about it. A few folks all at the same time mentioned it to me. And I thought, I wonder if there is something to this. So I started looking in the research, and of course, it's all there. There are definite factors at work that prevent people from having the same experiences that we see during the day
Mm.
if birth occurs during the night. So I wanted to dig into it a little bit and find out, what are these factors? How can we make things a little bit more even keel in terms of day and night variation for initiating breastfeeding?
That's awesome. So let me just ask you the first question that comes to mind. Is this a staffing issue? Like, what is the problem that happens? Are we short of staff at night?
So that is one factor, yes. And
Mm.
there are multiple factors. It's not just related to a single one thing about, let's get more people on board. that's not the only problem. So
Right.
yeah, but that is a big problem. That's going to
Yeah.
come out in the research.
Yeah, because I can hear every other nurse right now who works on postpartum going, I'm doing my best, Kelly. I'm doing my
Absolutely.
best. You know? And so, yeah, like you said, not one factor, though. There seems to be multiple factors that sort of trace this type of, behavior, and it's absolutely fascinating. So tell me, when you were going through kind of some of these elements, and I know, we've got to come and listen to you to get the whole big picture, right? But, when you were going through this, were there things that you started to discover as well, as a lactation consultant that you never knew in terms of birthing at night?
Well, yes, but most of it seems like, and for anybody who works in labor and delivery, they will all instinctively recognize these issues. Everyone will
Mm-hmm.
say, "Oh, yes, I see that in my
Mm-hmm.
job." But for somebody who doesn't work on a night ward at labor and delivery, it might be really eye-opening because you may be thinking, "Well, I'm going to the hospital to have my baby, and I know what to expect. It's going to be, you know." The services that are available are going to be there no matter what time of day it is, but that doesn't necessarily always pan out. What I found, Fiona, that is fascinating is that there's some research that researchers have interviewed people who work at labor and delivery at night, and they've
Mm-hmm.
identified all these particular factors that they encounter, things that they
Mm.
wish would be remedied on at their facility, wherever they're working. And the list is fascinating. It's really
Wow.
interesting. And some of it is really intuitive. Like you said, oh, is it just a question of staffing? That absolutely comes up, but there's way more to it. And it is really
Mm.
interesting.
Mm. I have so many questions now. But there's not enough time. But I want to know. I feel like, okay, yes, I get it. There's a lack of staff sometimes, night staff, whatever. Is there a physiological impact on the body because it's at night and you're having to work through the night laboring? Like, does that come into play?
So there is some interesting research that shows that nighttime birth in terms of cesarean delivery at night can actually have
Interesting.
a physiological impact on lactation, the timing of your mature milk coming in,
Right. Right.
lactogenesis too. So
Wow.
there is some physiology at work here, which is fascinating, and that's something that
Yeah.
really kind of blew my mind. So I will go into detail and explain it, and the research behind it in the when we do the live day. But
Yeah.
so many things. It isn't limited to one thing, or it isn't always predictable either. And of course,
Yeah.
we know this. Everybody giving birth brings their own factors to the table. So it isn't going to be the same for everyone.
Right.
And there's always a different mixture of what factors are at play. And some people, this will just maybe blow your mind a little bit. Some people have good benefit from giving birth at night. It doesn't always turn out negative for breastfeeding.
Yeah, no, for sure. And it just reminds me of when have I ever, the game, when have I ever
Yes,
asked a client what time they gave birth and then followed up respectively on that being a factor. I don't think I've ever asked. I mean, I asked them, casually, but not on an intake, Kelly. I've never
right.
said, okay, what type of birth have you have, but I've never said, was it, at whatever time of day it was. So very, very interesting. I cannot wait. Okay, before I let you go, I know you've been very busy. I know that your book is out there. Please tell people a little bit about your book and what you've been doing with it and all the things. It's a great
Well,
book, by the way.
I mentioned to you earlier that I had started years ago creating this list of all these things
Right,
that can factor into sabotage for breastfeeding, whether we acknowledge it, whether we know it at the time, or whether we're looking at it in hindsight. So it took me a long time to create this list. And I thought, well, what in the world am I going to do with this? That became part two of my book. So the book is called Protecting Your Potential for Breastfeeding. I recognize that we all have a potential, whether that's
right.
like an amazing milk supply or just a normal milk supply or maybe low supply. Everybody has some potential. So what I wanted to bring out was the fact that like we can really work through some of these sabotage factors. I call them in the book, I call it lactation interference.
Right.
And those factors if we have a little bit of heads up, sometimes we can avoid them altogether. Sometimes we can knowingly engage with these factors and recognize that, like, okay, I'm going to do this, but I'm going to need some very specific and robust lactation care afterwards. And some folks don't
Mm,
have a choice. That's a lot of people that, and clients that I talk to, people are like, well, I didn't want to have a cesarean delivery, but this is what happened.
right.
So it's great when people do engage with some of the factors and then recognize, like, okay, I'm the one that's going to need all this extra support. So I know I can build that into my postpartum experience.
Yeah.
So that's the book in a nutshell. It's a lot of promotion, how to get breastfeeding off to a good start, and this long list of factors that can interfere.
Yeah, excellent. Well, thank you so much, Kelly, for being with us here today. And we can't wait for your presentation. Once again, for everyone listening in, this is a free and open access presentation. Kelly will be talking about the night shift effect, navigating breastfeeding after nighttime birth. Kelly Durbin, thank you so much for being with us here today. We appreciate your time.
Thank you.
We'll look forward to seeing you again. You can head over to the website at goldlactation.com and you can look for Kelly's presentation there. Like I said, you can join us free of a free open access and of course share it with your colleagues and friends. I hope you all have a wonderful day. We'll look forward to seeing you again. Bye-bye for now, everyone.